Welcome, guys, to the MMOs.com podcast, episode 104. Altai joined this week by the one and only
Omer.
There it is.
And we have an exciting podcast for you guys today, as we usually do. That always sounds mega cheesy, but we're going to say it every time anyway.
Always got something special.
Exciting podcast.
Always something special for you guys. All right.
Take it away.
Yes, the weekly raid, as always. We'll start the podcast, and this week I want to know, what game are you excited about in the second half of 2017? The first half actually was a little slow. We saw Revelation Online launch. Kind of a mixed bag there. You know, it was pretty popular. Everyone tried it, as far as I can tell, in the MMORPG scene. But, you know, it had its flaws. But the second half of this year is shaping up to be quite busy. We got big expansions coming out. Morrowind for Elder Scrolls Online just launched today or yesterday. Stormblood is coming out next month. We got some huge games announced, like Destiny 2 for PC coming out later this year, at least on consoles, hopefully on PC as well. Yeah, a lot of stuff coming out. So, Omar, what do you think?
One thing that caught me by surprise, actually, Crowfall is actually scheduled to release this year. Maybe a bit of a news discussion on its own, because I don't think we've heard a release date until just this last week. But personally, I'm for sure excited most about Stormblood, only because that's the game I've been playing, I guess, most actively in the most recent years, I guess. I did a slash play it, actually, and I'm up to like 30 or so days in game time. Definitely not like super hardcore. 30 days in game play time is not a lot for, you know, for the youngins out there, but it's a lot of fun, and they're adding so much more shit. So there's gonna be tons of stuff to do. And on the rest of that list, I'm also a bit excited for I guess perhaps Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen a little bit, only because how similar it is to EverQuest, and almost like a throwback to old school EverQuest without old school EverQuest visuals and interface. I think EverQuest 1 had some of the ugliest interface of any MMORPG, even though it was a great game. So on that list for me, for sure, FF14 and Pantheon to a degree. Though I do want to play Destiny 2 as well, only because how much hype I heard about Destiny 1, despite never actually playing it because it was on console. I didn't really want to play on a console, so I just kind of avoided Destiny altogether. But Destiny 2 will be on PC, so excited for that.
It's so strange to me how Bungie has always been like so anti-PC, but hope, you know, now they're finally coming around to the light side here. And by the way, I should say this list is not complete. If you guys are watching this, listening to this, head over to the weekly raid page and just let us know what you're excited about, even if it's not on the list. You can also vote here in chat. We're dropping the link. So there's a lot of options here. Personally, I'm actually kind of besides Crowfall, which you mentioned, you know, a lot of other games that we've heard about for a long time, but just never released, are finally going to release this year, hopefully, including Shroud of the Avatar, which we played. We can talk a little bit about that. Albion Online, another game which, you know, we actually streamed. We did a Sunday Fun Day for Albion Online. You know, I think almost over a year ago. Over almost 2 years probably at this point. So a lot of games on that list like that. There's also Secret World Legends, which is the Secret World, but kind of, I guess, remade as an action RPG. A Master S Master. I mean, I think you did a video for that, a year ago as well, right? So.
Oh, it's been a while too. The game has also been kind of, you know, coming soon for a long. But I think right now it's kind of, you know, right around the corner, so it should be launching this year.
A lot of loose ends are going to be tied up this year. That's a good sign. You know, we gotta close the book on a lot of these perpetual development games here.
And those perpetual games are Shroud the Avatar, Pantheon, and Crowfall, I think. Those and Albion Online. These games have been coming soon for such a long time. So if we can get these off the slate into like some kind of release, it'd be pretty great. We should talk a bit about Shroud the Avatar, because we did a Grindfest Friday video for it, and it's actually a unique game. But maybe unique is the wrong word, but it's quite different than most of the Korean grinders out there. Even though it had its problems, I actually enjoyed my time with it, and it's a game that is on my radar now. I kind of avoided it because all the Steam reviews I read about it were kind of negative, and even though Richard Garrett was behind it, the guy behind Ultima Online, it wasn't a game I was too excited for. Right now, it's not a game I'm going to play this, you know, immediately. Again, I'm not going to jump back into it, but it's a game that's on my radar because of all the different shit it's trying to do. It's trying to revive Ultima Online in a bit more modern setting, and it made me realize just like how many games are so generic. Again, and we always complain about these Korean grinders being all the same. But you play, you know, Shroud the Avatar, ugly interface, bugs, some optimization issues, problems, but the game is so different. It's skill-based progression. It's got persistent world housing. and it does all that stuff really well. It brings a lot of MMORPG elements like we've lost. Like so many MMORPGs don't even bother having day and night cycles anymore. Like we had that with Star Wars Galaxies. We had that with EverQuest 1. Like you have all these other MMORPGs coming out, namely from Korea, and they don't even bother with a day and night cycle because I don't know. It just seems like they've given up on ambition. They've given up on being detail oriented. So what I like about Shroud the Avatar, which is it's on my radar because it's different. The housing was awesome, and it's it's just not another Korean grinder. Really, that's the biggest sell for it. And I'm hoping Crowfall captures that as well. I've yet to play Crowfall. It's set to come out this year too. So I think a lot of Western developed games are vastly different for their Korean counterparts, although not always as successful because some of the most successful MMORPGs in the world are from Korea and China.
I feel like Shroud the Avatar, like you said, it does a lot of things right. It does a lot of things interestingly, but I think it's kind of lost the momentum at this point. This game has been out for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we're gonna see kind of the end of this whole crowdfunding fad because it's a great way to lose momentum. Momentum is so important. Shroud the Avatar has been selling these, housing packages, pre-sales, Kickstarters, crowdfunding. It's been doing this for years, and so many people have moved on, right? Because if the game was in this state when it was first revealed, I think people would be excited about it. There'd be a lot of development. There'd be a lot of people playing, funding it. But they've kind of burned the goodwill they've had, and I don't know if it can recover from this, from where it is now. The gameplay, look, I actually was having a decent time, not a great time, until I got to town and just walked around and looking at those player houses. That was the best part. So I feel like the worst part of this game is the gameplay, right? It's everything else that's done well.
But I think that kind of emphasizes a point I've been saying for a long time. Gameplay, like the core combat mechanics, I think are usually not the least important, but not like on the top tier of importance in MMORPGs. I think MMORPGs are fun because of everything else around the gameplay. You don't play World of Warcraft or FF14 for the gameplay. You play it for the world, the MMORPG elements, the world, the community, the interactions, the crafting, all those systems working together is what makes MMORPGs fun. You want to play something with gameplay? Go play a MOBA. Go play an FPS game. Go play an action RPG. Like those are games you play for the gameplay. I don't think MMORPGs are games you play strictly for gameplay. I don't think there's been any MMORPG that's like you're playing just for the combat and it's so fun. Except for maybe even like Blade and Soul for a short while. But even then, just go play a fighting game, Like the combat, I think Blade and Soul is the best of MMORPG combat, but you can really just get that experience without all the MMORPG nonsense because the guy that enjoys the combat in Blade and Soul is going to enjoy playing fighting games as well. So I don't think the combat is the most important part, even close to it. And I guess Shroud the Avatar probably best encompasses that because the most fun I had too was walking around town, looking at people's houses, right? Their creations, their persistent world housing, seeing what people have done. You can literally sit down and play a piano, right? Like so few games let you interact with the world and housing that way. Like Mabinogi lets you play music too, and we're seeing MapleStory 2 do it. But so few games bother to have like at least that level of depth, at least mix things around a bit.
I think Mabinogi is a good comparison, and I would say it kind of did the whole. It did what Shroud the Avatar is trying to do, I think, better. Where you had the housing, the little role playing gimmicks with the instruments and everything, but at least the combat was interesting. If it was slow, it wasn't like action combat, but it was interesting. Okay, whereas I think in Shroud the Avatar, it almost feels like they just dropped like generic, like they're using like the Unity default combat almost, right? Like I didn't feel like I don't know, the combat just didn't feel like a thing. It just felt like, like I was saying, if this game was medieval The Sims instead of an MMORPG, it was medieval Sims and with multiplayer, I think it'd be better. You could just role play and build houses and cities and trade or whatever. I think Shroud the Avatar would actually be better as that. I think it fails at being a combat MMORPG, which combat's not the most important thing, but
yeah.
But remember, you're a hero in this world, right? You're fighting. The first thing you do is you got a sword and shield and a bow and stuff. So it clearly is emphasizing combat, and it doesn't do that part well.
But look at at least the design element of the combat, right? The skill system of the game is, again, something we haven't seen too much of. Mm-hmm. Instead of using a level system, every time you attack with a certain weapon, you gain skill with that weapon. You gain skills with, as you use certain skills, you get better at that skill as well. So you progress not just at static level. You have a few stats you can level, like your strength, int, and I think dexterity. But even like the progression of that game is so different from other MMORPGs, and the inspiration from Ultima Online is clearly visible. And I do like that. I do want to see more games at least try some different things, because it just look, even Critic Online. I don't think we put on this list, but the game is Critical should be launching this month, at least into closed beta and it's by in mass. But even that game as a new game, an action MMORPG, it does so little different. It does so many of these new like Korean MMORPGs do so little different. It just almost feels like a tad soulless. Though I do think the gameplay in those games are fun, but I think MMORPGs need to have more than focus on other stuff besides the combat, because the combat in an MMORPG can only keep you interested for so long. And MMORPGs are games that typically you invest thousands of hours into, not like 50 hours like you would maybe like a console game, even a JRPG like 100 hours, right? So you'd have more than just the combat. I can't emphasize that enough, because I see people complaining about MMORPGs all the time. And I know I'm kind of sidetracking this for a little bit. If you look at our MMORPG, they've actually even renamed reddit.com/RMMORPG to the Sea of Salt, because people are just so salty and so cynical and so jaded about MMORPGs. And one thread on there that kind of caught my eye, I know I'm gonna derail us a little bit over here. Why do I keep quitting and I need help? So this guy, he's saying he's been playing MMORPGs since 2007, and he's changed games a lot, and he keeps quitting games, right? He can't stick to a game. Maybe he's hopping a lot too, but he just, he can't stick to something, and he's not having fun. And look at the first comment is about, I don't even know why I like MMORPGs anymore. I've been playing for like 10 years, but these games aren't fun. I think the problem is people are focusing on combat. I mean, I think the first MMORPG you play, you kind of get immersed in anyway, and you think I feel like you think you like the game for the combat, but you don't. You love your first MMORPG for the community around it and your shared experience, your stories you make in that game. The combat in my favorite MMORPG, Ultima Online, EverQuest, Dark Age of Camelot, MapleStory, well, MapleStory is grinding. It's kind of fun in a weird psychological way. But even all my favorite MMORPGs, the combat is pretty dull. It's not, it's not innovative. If you want to play combat, you can go play Counter-Strike, go play a MOBA, go play some arena game. You'll have more fun in just pure combat. So I'm bashing the games I love too, and I play these games for the community elements. Make friends. I can't emphasize this enough. You want to play an MMORPG? Join a clan. Make some friends in the game. Play with your friends. I know it's like kind of a douchebag thing. Go get some friends, bro. But like, I love Final Fantasy 14 right now because of the people I'm playing with. Right, my free company in the game. Shout out to free company Cure on Gilgamesh. It's what makes the game fun. The people you can play with, the people that are always there to chat. You can ask for help them out, help other people out. So play with a guild, play with a clan. I guarantee you'll have more fun. That's how you have fun in an MMORPG. Join a clan and be a part of that clan. Don't just go into it grinding mobs and then wonder why you quit the next week, because you're not having fun grinding mobs. Grinding mobs is not fun. Spoilers. It's only fun for a short while. All right, that's my rant. Sorry about that.
Good rant. Okay, look, adding to that, okay? I think, okay, besides the community, right? Community is important. I think when you're playing a game with your friends or with strangers, the way you make friends in games, like whether it's, people are saying, they make good friends in games. The way you make friends is you have to be in a unique environment. You have to be in a new environment, okay? So for example, when we first played Ultima, whatever it is, EverQuest, Ultima Online, Mabinogi, EVE Online, these are all games where you have to talk to people to figure out what to do, because it's different. The combat in EVE, the combat in Ultima Online, the combat in EverQuest, the combat in Mabinogi, the combat systems are all very different, okay? Mm-hmm. They don't have to be actiony or super in depth, but they're different. That's my point. So you have to figure out with other people. You got to ask, hey, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I do this? I remember playing Mabinogi. It took me like an hour to figure out how to kill like this rabbit, because the way the combat's very different in that game. Mm-hmm. My point is, today so many games are so formula driven. Like you just do those quests like Revelation. Yeah, for like 50 levels, you just do the same thing where you don't have to talk to people. You don't have to figure it out. So I think that's where it stumbles. It's not like people forgot to make friends. Like the same people who were making friends in previous games aren't today, because today you don't have to. The gameplay doesn't require you to make friends.
That's true, but it's also almost like a meta game too, because the first MMORPG you play, when you're new to the genre, you're more likely to interact with people and try to figure things out with them, right? But once you've played a bunch of these games, you kind of know what to do in all like the newer games too. So there's less reason to interact. There's almost like a meta problem there as well, unless you add complexity or something.
No. You don't. It's not complexity. Look, for example, Bless. It's good, right? It's an okay game when we played it, but at no point leveling in Bless did I ever have to think, what do I do next? Because I played Bless 1,000 times. You know, under 1,000 different names, right? So I never had to talk to anyone. But that's not true of all games. You know, even Path of Exile. You know, a lot of times you don't know what's going on. You know, you can't finish something yourself. You're stuck on a certain boss. You got to ask people in chat, you know, to help you. And they tell you to go to this website. They tell you, you know, join this Discord channel. Things happen. You know, the gears move. You know, the grinding gears, they move. So the game has to require this this kind of out of the. Doesn't it seem
like games have went the other way though? Like so many games have added systems to make progression easier, to make like the game world, you know, makes maps better, make auto walking. You have all these features to streamline the experience.
That's the problem. It's not go make friends. It's not like, my point is people didn't forget to make friends. You know, it's a gameplay today is not requiring people to do that, so they're not doing it. You know, and you can't solve that by just saying go make friends, because
here's the solution for me. Like I was playing FF14, right, and I was playing because Shu introduced me to the game, and she was playing with her friends. But right when I finally got to the game, she basically quit, right? And I'm like, what am I doing, right? Like I'm playing the game, I'm grinding some mobs, I'm like doing my questing, I'm like, I'm not really having a lot of fun, right? Because the person who introduced me to the game quit, and luckily I was in the guild she invited me to before she quit, and slowly I started realizing I'm having fun because the people I'm playing with, you know, they're all strangers to me. Like I didn't know any of them outside of the game, and slowly I joined the Discord, we talk, we have fun, and that community engagement is what made the game fun for me. And had I not joined, you know, a free company in the game, I don't think I'd be playing FF14 probably.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing: you were introduced by someone into that environment, right? Now imagine you started solo. Unless the game pushes you to into that kind of scenario with a random person that you do a dungeon with, right, or whatever, a random person you run into. If they don't, hey, join my guild, join my Discord, join my clan, whatever, the game has to push you to do that. If it just relies on people bringing other people in, like you were brought in, right? Yeah. It's not gonna last. It's not gonna reach. It's not gonna get big.
How can we do this? How can games do this? Like why are they going the opposite direction if this is such an integral part? I do think people have to be pushed to do this a bit more. And somebody brought up a good example in the chat. Since EverQuest, no game has really required players to kind of work together. You know, in EverQuest, for example, you literally could not, you know, gain experience at a half decent rate without partying. You know, if you're not willing to party with a group, you literally can't do anything at like higher levels. You can only kill like very low level monsters by yourself very inefficiently. So it's interesting that, like, I don't think off the top of my head any new MMORPGs, you know, almost any MMORPG today, you can get the max level solo grinding. Once in a while you do, you know, Queue Finder in a game, you can do that too. But EverQuest, you did have to party with people, and I remember spending a lot of time, you know, in High Keep and various other places in EverQuest with a group of people.
Okay, so I think actually I would argue that games have actually gotten better at this over the years. It's just MMORPGs specifically that have gotten worse at it. You know, like I'm more likely, even like, for example, when you play League or Dota or Overwatch, even the people, even strangers you play with, sometimes, you know, because of voice chat and other things, you kind of, you know, or you have a good synergy with them, you kind of add them to your friends list. You know, you kind of, you know, you queue with them again later. So I think other genres have gotten better, while MMORPGs have actually gotten worse at this specific player interaction, I guess, community building. And I don't have the answer on what they could do to fix it.
But my solution of trying to get yourself into a guild, I think is a good solution for people that actually want to play an MMORPG and you don't remember why you like it again. You know, because developers aren't going to overnight fix this problem, or if they even recognize this as a problem. But I think a lot of people can enjoy the games they're playing more if they're willing to invest a little more time into joining a guild. That's probably the easiest way to kind of, you know, get you into a game a bit more.
If you're not, here's my suggestion. If you're not partial to a specific game, like you don't have friends who are playing one, and you want to do this with like any old game, I would actually just say go in with that mindset you just described, right? Of trying to find friends, but go into a new game. That way you can kind of ride the wave.
That's true.
Like I remember the first month Star Wars: The Old Republic came out. I had a blast with it. It was subscription back then. You know, I had a blast with it because I was literally sometimes I was the first person on my server on the next planet. Like when I hit level 40, whatever, right? The quest chain takes me to a certain planet. I was one person there, and this was when the game was really popular. And I would see over the minutes from 1 to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 people coming in, and it was always the same names. Like, hey, Altai, you beat me to this planet. I'll beat you to the next planet, because he would skip the dialogue. So I skipped most of the story because I was trying to race other people. But I saw those names, and I added it to my friends list. We talked every time I logged in. So I would say ride the wave. Pick a new game coming out, and you have plenty of choices this year actually. So at least
that's true. When a game first comes out, I think there's much more like opportunities. And it's not just you go into a game looking to make friends. I think you just keep that option like open. Like, you should still go into the game to have fun, but I feel like we all have this mentality in the back of our heads. We just want to level up as quickly as possible. And when you have the mentality of just min-maxing, getting the late game as fast as possible, you lose out on what makes MMORPGs fun.
It depends, man. I had a good time in Star Wars with racing people to endgame.
Fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Those are all the games coming out. Okay. One thing I want to talk about real quick is, look, even the game you remember very fondly. Okay. Most of the time, most games, maybe not your first or second MMO, but like most games, even ones you like, you don't play forever, right? You kind of burn out.
You play for a long time, though. Let's be real. Our first few MMORPGs, we play forever. A long time.
You play for years, but you burn out.
Okay, and we come back to them, too.
Sure, but here's my point. A lot of these games have been in development for literally, like, the span of a game at this point. So, for example, Shroud of the Avatar. Let me see when it was first announced here.
4 years, I think, or 5. 2012.
2012, okay.
It was a Kickstarter.
Okay, so I wonder when the first alpha build was. Let's see if we have it on our page here.
Apologies, 2013. So it's been 4 years since the Kickstarter came out.
Okay, so 4 years is a pretty long time. My point is, look, at some point, you have to not release your game or not announce your game until it's closer to release. And I think companies like Destiny, like Bungie, know this. So they announced, Destiny 2 came out with all these trailers a few weeks ago, and it's coming out in September. They revealed the first trailer, and it's coming out within 6 months of that reveal. That's the way you got to do these things. And even smaller games like Wild West Online, they revealed the game. There's only like 5 screenshots right now, but guess what? They're aiming for a 2017 release. No early access, no Kickstarter. They're coming out this year. They announced just like a few weeks ago. So within 6 months of announcement, they want to release.
But do you think that's a necessity?
Yes.
I mean, look at like most recently. I'm 78 hours into Persona 5. That game was announced like forever ago, and it's been like years and years, right? And let me see when Persona 5 was announced. And I was still mega hyped about it. I bought it like the day it came out, right? It was first announced in 2013, so it's been about 4 years.
I'd say that's totally different for a few reasons. One, you didn't play endless betas and builds.
Yes, that's true. You get burnt out through the betas.
You didn't watch them, stream.
No, you're right.
Builds.
You're right.
You didn't, watch, YouTube personalities play builds for 20 or 50 hours. You didn't go to conventions like with Star Citizen. Like, at some point, these things whittle away at your, the initial wow of the game.
No, I think you're right. Especially looking at how much stuff is out for like Star Citizen. Over the years, there's been like you get like content overload of people playing the alpha builds, the beta builds, and even the developers talking about the game nonstop. If you've been following the Star Citizen saga from the get-go, like how are you not already burnt out from this game that didn't even come out yet? From all this nonstop, talk about the game. But whereas, with my example with Persona 5, I not only did I not watch any beta builds or anything, I didn't even watch any trailers because I didn't want to spoil it for myself.
Well, exactly. So I think you agree with me then, right? That stuff spoils the game.
Point.
Yeah.
I mean, it still astounds me that so many people are still hype about Star Citizen after all this, seeing building hype for it for like 4 years, 5 years. So it's still surprising that people are hyped over.
But I mean, because of the scope of Wild West Online, I'm excited for it. It's one. I actually voted for this game on that little poll we linked. It's not gonna be full on MMORPG, but they got a lot of features going for them. One, it's gonna be PvP, because the Wild West was a dangerous area.
The PvP zone. The PvP zone.
Yes, if you watch the movies, it was at least I'll drop the poll link again.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this one. It's gonna be a smaller scale, but it's gonna actually come out, and they're not asking for money. They're not asking for early access, you know, founders packs. So
I got excited the moment they said, "Okay, we're not gonna do a Kickstarter. We secured funding from a private investor, and we're aiming to release this year with some kind of beta in the summer, some kind of closed beta in the summer. So in a few months, something should be playable already." Because when I first heard about Wild West Online, I talked about it in the weekly news recap, and literally all we had, and we currently still have like these like 10 screenshots, right? That's it. You got a few screenshots, and you had then asking for Kickstarter money. They're going to say they're going to do a Kickstarter at the end of the month. So they skip the Kickstarter, and they say they're going to have a product and something playable soon. So that gets me excited. The fact that they're skipping Kickstarter, God bless, you know? Skipping early access, God bless.
Yep. I think it's very important for not just the whole like will it ever come out thing, but again, spoiling the kind of wonder of the experience.
Mm-hmm. At least it's gonna happen.
I gotta give you some credit, Omar, on this next subject here. I wanna go to Ashes of Creation. I thought they were gonna raise a lot more than they did. I thought they were gonna raise 3 million. They got 9 days left, and they're only at let's say 2.3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you said they were gonna hit 2.35 on their Kickstarter. I said 3 million. So unless something happens in 9 days, I think you got this one wrapped up.
Most of these Kickstarter campaigns, they get most of their money in the first like day, right? Like almost the first day or two is where the bulk of the money comes from, and it slows down significantly after that. Mm-hmm. So I think I may be on the money, depending on what happens over here.
I thought this guy would do a little better. Ashes. Yeah, I thought this guy was a better marketer. You know, I thought he'd pull out some pizzazz.
It still like slightly upsets me the amount of hype for this game.
Really?
Only because so many people don't realize like it feels like the hype is inorganic and like paid shield hype, and it's not always the case, right? But when I'm scrolling through Ashes of Creation videos on YouTube, like people are hyping this game like crazy, and then you look at the video description and there's an affiliate link in there. When somebody is paid 15% of the money you donate to Kickstarter, they're going to hype the shit out of a game because they can make money doing it. And a lot of big YouTubers have done it, and it just feels so shilled. Like if you want to get hyped for a game, get hyped for a game. But getting hyped for a game to get 15% kickbacks from all the crowdfunded money, that's so sketch. And there are so many videos and legions of YouTubers jumped on the bandwagon of hyping this game because of that. And it just feels like you can't get an honest look at a game when you're being paid to hype it. It's
I mean, look, companies always pay people to advertise their games. The only problem I have with it is that they're hyping a Kickstarter, okay?
Yes. Look, you get paid a kickback from your pledges, your Kickstarter pledges.
Yeah, that part's funny. If it was just like a game, like whatever, like
yeah, that's fine.
If a game is out and it's just trying to sell you like copies or whatever, like even if it's an open beta or closed beta, if it's almost coming out, whatever, you know, like, the month before a game comes out, a big release, there's always a big spend, right, on like sites
advertising.
Yeah, but I think the fact that they're so blitzing a Kickstarter, that's the only part that kind of because doesn't sit well with me.
If you hype a game, if you make a video of like saying this game is fucking amazing and then you get a kickback for it, a game that's already out, right? It can be very obvious that the game you hyped is shit and you're being paid for it if the game is actually really bad, and people know that by playing the game, right? But when it's a Kickstarter game, there is always like a backpedal, right? If this game ends up being pure shit, I'm not saying it will be, but if it ends up being awful, the guy who hyped the game up in the past to make money off it can be like, oh, looks like they didn't deliver all their Kickstarter promises. You know, who knew? You know, all those ideas were so great on paper back then. You know, I didn't know. And it gives almost like all the content creators an out, where they accept no responsibility for hyping this game if it sucks, because there's no game here yet. It's just a concept, and the concept again does sound great on paper.
I mean, they're showing gameplay. I'm showing. They've been doing like I think 3 streams a week.
Gameplay.
They got this major lady running around.
Walking around Unreal Engine. I can do that too. You know, give me a week, and I can get 100. You know, you can hire a freelancer to just put some hour. You go to the Unreal store, buy some character assets, and walk around. I don't think it really constitutes as, you know. Yeah, I guess it's engine gameplay, but I don't think it really counts. I think it's almost like what we've seen in Star Citizen, right? They showed off all this really great content and great technology, right? And now you gotta actually make the game. You know, having an engine, especially when you're using an Unreal Engine already, like showing off engine assets moving around is not really gameplay. It has to be all the systems working together to be, you know, real gameplay.
My only issue with what they're showing is, look, they obviously have this map, right? These characters.
Yeah.
The only problem I have is I don't know how much I trust Unreal Engine as like a big, massive MMORPG engine. Like these are all NPCs walking around in this world, right? But what happens when there's like 200 people on this map?
It's gonna lag like crazy.
Yeah, so that's my issue. Is how far along are they with the netcode? Is it doable what they're trying to do with the netcode? I don't doubt that they're trying to make a good game with this assets, what they're showing here, but whether they can make an MMORPG out of all these parts is the question. This is Ashes of Creation, by the way, guys. I'm showing Ashes of Creation gameplay footage from their stream on that was on May 19th.
Put those in quotes, guys. Gameplay. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just engine assets walking around. I think it's deceiving, especially when you present the video to people, I guess, who are not familiar with game development. The showing off engine assets. Like today, you can download Unreal Engine because Unreal Engine gets like 5% of your royalty fee on your game, right? You can download the Unreal Engine today and import like a map, and make some basic flat map, put some trees in there that you buy from the Unreal Engine store, put some character models you buy from the Unreal Engine store, and you walk around. Like you can do that in like a couple hours, like an hour. Making the map itself will take a while, sure. But like that doesn't really constitute as gameplay, just walking around some map you made. So there's still a lot more work to do, and I do hope the game comes out. And to address your concern, actually, at least there's a few skeptical people on the Ashes of Creation subreddit voicing concerns about the Unreal Engine. Apparently, Steven Sharif, the guy behind the game, says creating your own engine is a waste of time. And in his defense for Unreal Engine, which look, based on what I've researched, I don't think Steven Sharif knows. I don't think he's been working in game design or development at all. Actually, he loves games, right? He's been playing MMORPGs for a long time, and this is clearly a passion project for him. But I don't know if that opinion weighs too much if he hasn't worked in the industry too much. And if you read this article, it's actually pretty funny. He's complaining about Unreal Engine games not working pretty well. Yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, there are a few Unreal Engine MMOs out there. You have games like Terra, which have been notoriously unoptimized, and you have Bless, right? Literally the worst optimized game I've ever played. Like, and big MMORPG I've ever played. Bless is unoptimized, unplayable nonsense. And the reason why Bless failed right now in Korea, and nobody really played it in Russia either, is because it was unplayable. It's just the most unoptimized, unplayable game. The core gameplay is cool, but the game doesn't work. It's just so unoptimized and doesn't work. And that's pretty funny.
A fun fact about Bless real quick. In their home market of Korea, they've actually just 2 days ago announced a merge from 2 servers down to 1. So on my birthday, June 14th, the present I'm going to get is 1 Korean server for Bless Online. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty funny. This guy talks about Unreal Engine, and he says, take a look at this. So you can find it. One of the guys who contributed to the Unreal Engine code discusses MMORPGs using Unreal Engine. So, and he basically says it's very difficult, to make an MMORPG run efficiently on Unreal Engine, and even the games that do it pretty poorly. And again, he's a guy who contributed to the code for Unreal Engine. They say the performance is laughable for it. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Let me show this right here. Read what he first says over there. Basically, whenever you want to create an MMO game, you can ask yourself a simple question, which acts as a rule of thumb to decide whether you should move forward with the project. Key question: am I in over my head? Answer: yes. Jokes aside, 99.99% of the time, if you have to ask people online about making an MMO, you aren't ready to make an MMO.
Okay, I clicked it. Let me see where. Some fun stuff, guys. Fun stuff.
Unreal Engine 4 is not much different than Unreal Engine 3. Terra Online is based on Unreal Engine 3, and the performance is laughable. Again, this is one of the commentators on the Unreal forum from an engine contributor, meaning he's contributed to some code that's being used in the Unreal Engine, the actual source engine. So people that know what they're talking about have, publicly said it's not perfect, for MMOs. And all the Unreal Engine MMOs I've played, they've had some performance issues. It's certainly not, insurmountable, but it's, definitely questionable when you have
all things said. I mean, Terra has done rather well. Yeah. I mean, at least better than Bless, which, came out after. So it's doable. Another issue I have, or concern, I should say, not really issue, is the stretch goals. They said it's not going to affect the schedule. And at first, I believed them with that one. Look, if you look at these stretch goals, The first one here is parlor games, you know, tavern games between players. That's easy, right? Cute small pets, another easy thing, you know, give backers a little kitten. Group mounts, okay, doable, you know, other games have done it. Backer only weapon skin, easy. And then all of a sudden, enhanced naval content. They're gonna add underwater environments and ships. Oh, that's pretty. You know, you got full on games just based on, you know, naval combat and naval ships, and you know, that's an issue developing all that content.
Well, they're saying they already had the ships. I think they could add more ships.
But still, I mean, a full on underwater areas and ship combat and ships and so that's a lot. That's a lot. I love some of these aquatic mounts. I don't know if that's been done before. It's pretty interesting if they do that. But I mean, they're kind of getting a little over their heads. A $3 million stretch goal, guys. I don't know if it's going to get there, but is that in-depth economic performance metrics and commodities trade routes, wars, raids. So they're getting ambitious here with some of these stretch goals.
Of course, those apparently will not add one additional day to the development cycle because they planned it all out from the get-go. They planned out all their stretch goals from the get-go, is I believe what they said early on, which is definitely a big question when you're adding all that content.
I definitely think Star Citizen mainly, but also Shroud of the Avatar has tainted the whole crowdfunding. I
don't think it's fair to say. I mean,
really?
This game raised a lot of money. Star Citizen continues to raise a lot of money, and it shows the hype there is and the hope that we have a great MMORPG again in the West. People are excited. People want to play something.
All right, I think this trend is gonna fizzle out eventually. There's only so much people can pour in and not really see results, you know.
Well, I mean, again, it's not entirely. We should be entirely jaded. I'm hoping these games happen and meet all these promises, and it'd be great if a game like Ashes of Creation does happen, you know. But realistically, questionable.
All right, let's move on.
I want to take this to a interesting article I put up today about King of Glory. We talked about this earlier, but some interesting data came out relatively recently about the game's financial performance. So this mobile MOBA, King of Glory, also translates, there's an American version coming out called Strike of Kings, also known as Honor of Kings, is incredibly successful. It made $435 million in April. And is expected to do, it's expected to be 50% of Tencent's mobile revenue this year. It will make billions in revenue this year. If that $400 million continues, over $4 billion in 1 year. That is absolutely nuts.
So this is just out in China right now, right? Or is it?
Yes.
And starting to come out worldwide? I haven't played this yet. I want to play it. I wonder, you played it. How did it play on a phone? Like, did you feel like your character was responsive? How did it feel?
It felt really good, actually. I don't like most mobile games. I talked about this before. I'll briefly mention it again. It feels super responsive. There's some built-in auto targeting for your auto attacks and stuff, and your skills. So there's still skill shots in the game, but it's been designed pretty intuitively that you can actually just play it on your phone, and it doesn't feel like super difficult. The learning curve, it's like even easier than HOTS, to pick up and play. Like HOTS, I would argue, is an infinitely more complex game almost. But the game does have items that you can buy.
Wow, really?
But, yes. But it's super easy to pick up and play, and it actually works really well on mobile. And it just felt really smooth. Most mobile games kind of feel a little janky to me, but this one worked really well. I play on the PC though. I didn't play it on my device, but it actually is made for mobile. It felt a little awkward playing on PC with the emulator. There is a PC client as well though, which is nice. I'm kind of hoping there's a PC client when it launches here too.
Do you think PC players are at an advantage? Kind of like console versus PC shooters?
No, because you're playing on this emulator. It's not like it's. I think it works fine on mobile. You can see a lot of people streaming in China. They're Douyu, Chinese Twitch. I saw a guy with 600,000 people watching him play. 600,000 people were watching one guy play King of Glory, and it wasn't even a tournament. It was just this dude playing on his his mobile device.
So I saw Eugene just had a funny comment in chat. He said, "So this game made 3 times Bless online development cost in 1 month. I don't understand this world anymore."
Actually, more than 3 times. I think Bless cost about $62 million to make. That was the last number we found for them. So this game made like 8 times the development cost in 1 month. And to make that even more astounding, World of Warcraft, a game that many of us kind of regard as one of the most profitable, successful MMORPGs, made about $814 million in 2015. This game made more than half of WoW's revenue in 1 month.
Wow.
And EVE Online, it's made like triple EVE Online's revenue. And that's EVE Online, all of CCP. CCP makes revenue from elsewhere too. This game made like triple all of CCP's revenue in 1 month. This game's monthly revenue alone is higher than most games on our most profitable MMOs list, which is basically sticks to PC games only.
China is big, boys. That's great. It's so
take a
funny.
look at this list. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Games like Star Wars, The Old Republic, Elder Scrolls Online cost so much to make, right? But this game in 1 month could fund Star Citizen. Plus, it could fund
money left over. Yeah.
Money left over for Star Wars: The Old Republic.
So the most successful PC game in the world is League of Legends. They did about $1.8 billion last year. This game will beat that in like 5 months. And it is absolutely nuts. I think the momentum will continue. You could say that was a launch month boom, but this game is still the most downloaded game in all of China. Typically, when it's the highest grossing game and the most downloaded. Rarely are games the most downloaded apps in China, for example. I'm using a site like App Annie to track these kind of numbers. But rarely does a game sit on the highest downloaded list. It's usually like WeChat or like some social apps, Facebook apps, stuff like that. But this game is sitting as the most downloaded game for a long time, and I think the revenue is going to surprise everyone.
Quite impressive.
Yeah. I mean, if you're curious what the game is about too, you can see my first look video for it, or you just go on Chinese Twitch and just click around. You'll find some interesting stuff on here for this game. Like if you click, I dropped the Chinese Twitch link if anyone's curious for later. This is unbelievably popular. You can see so many people watching various streams of this game. China's big.
Wow. I am dumbfounded here.
I am too. I knew it was a lot of money, but I didn't think it was over 400 million in 1 month. It just blows everything else out of the water. And this is how do you justify spending like $70 million, $60 million on a game like Bless when a mobile game like this is?
What year is it, guys? I'm trying to watch a stream on us. Do you? It says I have to enable Flash Player. So, sorry, China. I'm out.
Later, China. But if you can browse that website on Chrome, which is Google translated pages. Right-click translate if you're on Google, and it's interesting to see what the game is all about. And the game again is launching here in the West. And look, it's not a bad game. I'm not being paid to say this. I wish I was. I think it's pretty fun, and it's a game you can very casually play on your phone. And I'm actually looking forward to playing it. I've been trying to play it over here because the game is out in Turkey, but it's not out in English just yet. But I couldn't get my phone to use the local app store here to play it.
What else we got? Okay, so we saw some gameplay, guys, for the next big game here. I guess it's worth mentioning, at least showing the Destiny 2 gameplay trailer. This was kind of just like a new reveal. I think a week or two ago. Let's see what we got here. Gameplay reveal trailer, boys.
That's a big reveal just a couple days ago, wasn't there? Like,
wasn't Destiny also one of the most expensive games?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I will find actually the most expensive MMORPGs ever developed.
So this game is not quite like Persistent World, right? It's kind of like more like Warframe, where you just go into like these missions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate? I don't know. I haven't really played Destiny 1.
I guess Warframe is probably the best comparison for a game like Destiny. Probably the most similar of games I could think about. Cost about $140 million to make. Again, this is an estimate based on some old contract that came out with Bungie and Activision. Very difficult to find exact numbers for these games, but we cited everything we can find on that link.
So apparently, this game is going to have 4 new zones, none of the same overlap. It's going to have the same 3 classes, or guardians, or whatever they're called, and it's going to have slightly different PvP. There's only going to be 4v4 PvP, so they're going for like the whole team-based PvP experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the biggest launches of this year.
Here's the big news about this game. I just remembered. It's going to be the first game that's not made by Blizzard to be on the Blizzard launcher. What do you think of that?
I think it's unbelievably smart. Why is a giant company like Activision, right, literally giving away 30% of their profits to Steam as to be the platform partner, when you have a giant platform like Battle.net or Blizzard app, which everyone still uses to play, whether they're playing Overwatch or they're playing World of Warcraft, right? Or Hearthstone even. There are so many people using the Blizzard launcher that they're insane to leave anything on the table for Steam. It's exclusive on there as well too, so they're going to be getting all that money.
Yeah. With that said, though, why did it take this long? Like, why is
Call of Duty? And
why is
everything,
Call of Duty on Steam? Right? Like, if they have this, they've had Battle.net launcher. It was called Battle.net before Blizzard, but they
still call it Battle.net actually. I've been seeing Battle.net used in their press releases even now. So
that's so funny.
The name change.
They did change the name on the actual on the actual service. It's called no, actually no, you're right. If you right click the Blizzard launcher, it still says Battle.net for me. So I guess Blizzard hasn't made up their mind yet on what to call their. Isn't it called Battle.net? Uber Spidey, actually it was called Battle.net, but they changed the name to Blizzard Launcher a few months back, and I guess slowly and inconsistently they are translating that over.
And they're saying Steam is a much larger market than BNet. That's true, but people that want to play Destiny, I mean, when you're launching a giant game like Destiny, you spend already like $50 million plus on marketing, and people are still going to use the Battle.net launcher. I mean, if it was an obscure bullshit launcher, I agree, you have to launch it on Steam. But when you have a giant company like Activision Blizzard, you already have literally tens of millions of people using your platform to play Hearthstone, to play Overwatch, to play WoW. It's not an unknown launcher, you know. And for that, Blizzard doesn't need. Activision doesn't need their game on Steam. I don't think it's going to hurt their sales at all. And if it does, you'll more than make up for it with the 30% you save on the Steam fees.
There's actually a secondary benefit to being on the Blizzard launcher, actually. If you guys still play WoW out there, you can actually sell your WoW gold for these in-game game time tokens, kind of like the Plex system for EVE. And then these tokens can actually be traded in for $15 of Blizzard credit rather than being used for WoW, 1 month of WoW time. So what this means is if you can farm enough gold in WoW, you can use that gold to buy Destiny 2. And this is what people have been trying to do. People are dumping their gold. They get these tokens so they can get themselves some sweet free games. Unfortunately, that means it's going to cost you 480,000 WoW gold to buy Destiny 2. So if you are willing to farm 480,000 gold in WoW, you can trade that in for enough Battle.net credit to buy pre-order Destiny 2 today.
It's pretty crazy, honestly. I hope somebody did an article on following the exchange rate of in-game gold in World of Warcraft to US dollars. World of Warcraft gold is a very fast depreciating asset. I remember like 1K gold was like $1 or something back in the day, but the price has gotten so ridiculous where like even 100K is worth like so little, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
price of gold is absolutely
people in chat are saying, you can, if you know what you're doing, you can make that money in 2 weeks. Which, I mean, it sounds nice, but 2 weeks, it's probably still like what, like 100 hours of grinding. I mean, if you have the gold sitting in your account, why not? Get a free game out of it.
No. Plus, when you consider the audience too. Like a lot of people that aren't working, that aren't 18 yet, that aren't going to get jobs, right? I mean, yeah, like the per hour cost is awful, right? I mean, you're better off working minimum wage than buying the game. But if you're young and you don't have a job, play WoW. If you already have a subscription to the game that your parents are paying for, play the game, grind the gold. Do something. It'll be an experience. For you, the game will be free. Quote.
Yeah. So there it is, guys. If you have some gold, go ahead and sell it.
All right. Here was my trick to get. Here's the one sweet trick Data want you to know about. I was a big time scammer in World of Warcraft. I made shit tons of money. Like. I think I made up over like $500 worth of real life money in game pretty quickly doing this. What you would do is you just buy like you list an item in the auction house in World of Warcraft. I would do it with Haunted Mementos. It was an item that you could buy from a vendor in the Wrath of the Lich King, and it became rare because they discontinued the vendor or something. But it's called Haunted Memento. It was an item that was worth about like 10K gold back when I played, like when Mist just came out, right? Item that was worth 10K gold, you buy it in the auction house, you find it from other players, it's very rare. It's not always in the auction house, so it's a very limited quantity. Most of the time, it won't be in the auction house at all. But you find one, you buy it for like 10K, which is the correct price, and you list it for like 80K, which is 8 times the actual price of that item. And you go on a different character, and you start spamming, want to buy Haunted Memento, and you offer to pay 150K for it. So you're paying 150K for an item that's in the auction house for 80K. Little do people realize that, people are going to check the auction house to see if that item's for sale, and they're going to buy it from you for 80K and try selling it to you again for 150K because you're advertising it, right? So people think they can buy it in the auction house for 80 and flip it to you for 150, but little do they know you're the same person and you rip them off that way. And it's actually not bannable because it uses in-game mechanics. And if the guy buys it from you and he tries selling it to you, you just tell him, yo, bro, somebody just sold me one. You just missed it. I just got one. I'm sorry, bro. Like 2 seconds earlier, I would have bought it. You know. Once in a while, some guy will whisper you saying like, "It's in the auction house for 80K. Why don't you go buy it?" Right? And they're kind of questioning if it's a scam or not. And the proper answer is, "No, it's not. I checked it like 10 minutes ago. It wasn't on there. What are you talking about?" And then that guy's gonna think, "Holy shit! It was just listed. I have a chance to buy it and flip it to this guy." So convoluted story, but I made lots of in-game money in World of Warcraft doing that.
That's the trick to scamming. That's the trick to scamming, guys. You don't go for the total, like, you don't play on people's stupidity. You play on their like greed and cleverness. Like the guy who sees, you know, you selling the or buying the item for more than it's listed for an auction house, he thinks he's being clever, right? He thinks he can flip to you. Exactly. So that's what you got to exploit if you want to be a good scammer.
And it works because that base mechanic of buying high, buying low, selling high is a fundamental mechanic of the auction house in World of Warcraft, as is the fundamental, economics 101. You buy stuff low, you sell it for more, you make a profit. And you just really take it to the extreme. And it works so well with, certain items in game. You can't do it with shitty items that everybody knows about. You got to use obscure items that people don't know the price of. I've actually did it with like a in-game pet that was like very easy to get, right? I think it was a craftable pet or some nonsense in the game. That's literally like you can get the materials and make it for like nothing. But there was none for sale in the auction house because it was so obscure and stupid that it was worth nothing. But I was able to get like 50K for it because I was buying it for like 100K. So it works on any item really, as long as there is not liquidity. It's an unknown item. People get greedy and they fall for it. And I've never been banned. I've done this many times, and it works in any MMORPG that is an auction house. My brother actually pulled this mini scam off in MapleStory. We were in free chat in the free markets, advertising. I'll be in one corner saying I'm trying to sell this axe for like 100 million mesos or 10 million mesos, whatever the units were back then. There's a lot of inflation in that game too. And the other side of the free market was my brother buying that exact item. One of us was selling it, one was buying it, and people would walk into in the busy area of the free market in MapleStory, and they see this guy selling an item for this much money, and some other guy buying it at the same time. Two different people, and they can't put two and two together. They're working in cahoots with each other. Yep. They think they can buy it from my brother or buy it from me and flip it to my brother for like double the price. And once they buy the item, we made our money, and it's perfectly legal in these games. Just a douchebag move, but it's fine.
Yeah. It's a clever trick that works across games, guys. So if you ever want to make some money in your preferred MMO, you go ahead and use this trick, and you can credit us afterwards.
It's one weird trick they don't want you to know about, all right? But also, hopefully, it'll help you avoid scams in the future. Somebody says he made a lot of money in the Shop universe, buying some gear for 300, waiting 4 years, and selling it for 1,100. Definitely a great return on investment there.
Oh, next Ramus, thank you for the 100 bits. Remo, he wants a scammer's guide to MMOs. So,
all right, I'll make I can make a scammer's guide.
Don't we have one of the common scams to watch out for? That's not.
Yes.
That's more like an altruism thing, Not
we'll help people we'll help people do some scams. Fun stuff. Typically, you can do scams that are legal within the game. Yeah, my brother and I made a lot of money when we were like 15 playing Ultima Online scamming people. Like we made thousands of dollars playing Ultima Online scamming, which when you're like 15 is like $1 million, right?
It's gotten harder though. It's gotten harder. People got smarter. But like it's kind of like an invasive species. Like if a new species is introduced to an environment, it tends to grow without any competitors, right? It eats all the little animals that aren't afraid of it, So when MMOs first came out, people were so naive. I remember a big EverQuest scam for me. Here's what it was. I'd walk up to somebody with like cool equipment on, like a cool flaming sword, and I would just be like, "Hey, can I try that sword on my character? I want to see what it looks like on my character. Like, I want to take a screenshot of me holding that sword, and I'll give it right back." And for some reason, people would fall for this. Like, they would open the trade, they'd give me their sword, except I'd put it on, and then they're like, okay, can I get it back now? I'm like, no, you cannot get it back now. Bye. And I sleep.
But you would think it's so obvious that people wouldn't fall for that, right? Yeah. But this was, EverQuest was one of the earlier MMORPGs. It kind of made the genre more popular. People didn't assume, you go on the internet and tell lies? Like, who would do that, right? People were willingly handing their rare weapons to you and their gear. Because in EverQuest, it wasn't gear locked. You can literally wear any piece of gear. There was no level restrictions on gear, right? So people would just hand you their most valuable items, thinking you'll just give it back because you pinky swore, you promised. Like this would never fly anymore. So it's definitely getting harder to trick people.
Yeah, and And like games like RuneScape, I'm not sure about MapleStory, would have something called a drop game, right? It's like, hey, drop your item, and then I'll try to get to it before you pick it back up. It's like, and obviously there'd always be some kind of trick to this. You know, people would either have a hidden character or a hack or something, and they just vacuum your item. So never, don't drop your items and give them to people, guys. That's a key.
Oh, the drop game, fun times in MapleStory. The drop game. Somebody asked, how are the trench coats doing? My trench coat investment is still paying off. The market has steadied at right around 190 bucks. I have 5 trench coats now. I bought one more recently. I paid 170 for my most recent trench coat. I bought 2 trench coats for $75. I bought one for I think $100. But overall, I'm up like 400 bucks or a little bit more on investing in trench coats for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Virtual economies.
Good times.
Actually, we should totally make a guide on how to scam people.
Did we mention Black Desert going online on Steam tomorrow? I think we talked about it in pre. I don't know. I forgot.
No, we talked about it in pregame. Black Desert Online, guys, launching on Steam tomorrow. And we're going to see how many people are actually online when it launches.
If the price is right, I'm going to buy it again just to play on Steam.
I don't think I'd buy it again. I'm going to download it off Steam because I think it's going to be about $12. They're advertising with MMOs.com, so we have I saw their banners beforehand. I think it's 40. They're advertising 40% off their retail price, so I think it's going to be about $12. But we'll find out tomorrow. It's a buy-to-play game, one-time payment. And this could be the first time we're going to see how much impact Steam will have, because again, you can't just log in with your old video account on Steam. You have to buy the game on Steam. So almost everybody playing the game on Steam charts, and when you look at the Steam data, are people that bought the game new. So everyone on Steam will be new players that bought the game, or old players that bought another account for whatever reason. So we'll be able to measure how much impact Steam had on the player base of Black Desert Online. Whereas before, when a game launched on Steam, many old players just stopped playing on the shitty old launcher and just play through Steam. So it kind of skews the numbers, and you never know exactly how many people Steam introduced. So we're going to actually be able to measure that result going forward, BDO.
Another big game came out just today, I think, or yesterday. Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind upgrade. It got a little bit of flack because they're charging $40 for this expansion, even for people who subscribe, which they said they wouldn't do, but there it is. Luckily, it's still a one-time purchase if you want to play. You just got to have the base game plus $40 for this. Yeah, people saying it's a little overpriced. $40, you know, that's kind of steep.
It's a chunk of change.
Yeah.
That's 40, McDoubles. That's 40 rodeo chicken burgers at Burger King, you know? That's how I measure worth in rodeo chicken burgers.
I think they're really playing off nostalgia here. Okay, so basically, you can start level 1 in the Morrowind area. And the trick I think they're just going for is just get the nostalgia players from Elder Scrolls 3 and just let them experience, Morrowind in 2017. That seems to be the play here.
Somebody mentioned too that Stormblood is also $40, so Stormblood's adding a lot of content. All right, I would argue I think there's more content in Stormblood than what you're gonna get from ESO, namely because the level 70 level cap is gonna be boosted. Basically every class can get to level 70 now, and with the game's multi-classing system, you have all that on one character. Now that's a lot of potential new grind for you.
It's supposedly supposed to be a big zone. I'm actually gonna play this. I'm gonna try it. I'll give you the down low after I've given it a shot, but I mean, they say it's big, so who knows? We'll see. Maybe I'll stream this one. I haven't decided yet.
I'm personally excited for Stormblood. I haven't pre-ordered. I already pre-ordered it, and I think I have some in-game goodies for pre-ordering it too. I think they actually priced their level 60 boost. So there was rumors about the level 60 boost in Final Fantasy for some time now. But now the official pricing came out. You can buy, you can't get the max level, which is 70 with the expansion pack. But if you want to, you want to play Stormblood, but you don't have a level 60 character, you can pay $25 to get it. Let me go and see if pull that up for you. But yeah, $25 for level 60 boost and FF14 now. Definitely a little bit pricey, but I think right now you can only do it once per account.
Yep.
I guess they maybe wanted to make it so you can't just buy it 10 times and max out all the jobs, because people put a lot of time into the game. I guess there are people in game with max level with every single class of the game, which requires a tremendous amount of grind, tremendous amount of dedication. but I think they're gonna, you know, they're lifting that restriction after patch 4.1 apparently, and I'm sure maybe they'll put like a different restriction on that. And you cannot do it for the new jobs, only for the previous jobs. They're introducing Samurai and Red Mage with the expansion.
So yeah, 2 big expansions coming out. I guess I'll play one. You'll play the other, and like we'll see which one's better.
Let me ask about the Amazon Game Studios MMO. There's no word on when that's coming out yet. I mean, the only game from Amazon Game Studios that made some progress was the one we played, that MOBA game. They did another like round of closed beta testing. I forgot what it's called now because it was so unmemorable. You remember what it was called?
The Breakaway?
The Amazon Breakaway. There you go. Breakaway did another round of beta testing, but there's been nothing on the new Amazon MMO. Nothing new, at least.
True.
So it'll be quite a while still. Quite a while away.
I got a fun story I want to talk about.
Sure.
It involves Dota 2. So Dota 2 is going back to court, boys. Back to court. So when this Dota 2 came out, so Valve got the rights to it, right? But obviously it was based on a Warcraft 3 mod, which is owned by Blizzard. So there was a dispute between the two. Eventually they came to a settlement. The settlement said this: Valve owns the rights to make standalone Blizzard games, okay? But
standalone Blizzard games?
I mean standalone Dota games. But okay. Blizzard retains the right to use the word Dota for its games. So for example, Blizzard Dota was the initial name for HOTS. Blizzard Dota. It was supposed to be a mod for StarCraft 2. Eventually they kind of ditched the Dota name. But that was the deal they had. Now, since then, we got a lot of Chinese games making Dota clones for mobile. And by clones, I mean they're not really MOBAs, right? But they use a lot of the same assets. Like I'm showing a video right here. So they have Dota characters in this little turn-based card game or whatever this is, all right? And
Hero Collector. Waifu Collector.
Sure. And they're suing for the right to use... Oh, actually, they're being sued, I should say, by Valve and Blizzard. And they're saying you guys can't use these things, and they're saying we can because you guys don't actually own Dota. It's actually open source. That's a claim.
Interesting defense you're using.
And they have a few. The judge actually dismissed their case, and they said so. What that means is it's going to go to jury. The jury has to decide if this is the case or not. The judge would not buy their excuse in saying that it's open source.
Essentially, when in certain lawsuits, you can ask for summary judgment. So I guess Blizzard and Valve basically told the judge, look, summary judgment means you get an instant ruling before it even goes to a jury. And they were denied a motion for summary judgment, meaning they don't get the instant ruling.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to basically nip this in the bud and basically shut them down before it even went to court, before it even got to a jury. But the fact that they made an argument and the judge, I guess, believed the argument enough to let it go to a jury. So if you have no argument, it usually gets settled even before. So they had some merit. So
here's the case that the two Chinese studios are making. So Dota went through 3 developers initially. A guy named Yule created the first mod, right? Before Frozen Throne expansion. Then a guy named Ginsu came along. Then the guy named Ice Frog came along, which is the guy that made Dota 2 primarily for Valve. Fun fact, Yule also works for Valve, and Ginsu is over at Riot Games. They actually dug up an old quote by Yule, the first inventor of Dota. A forum post from 2004. So that's what, 13 years ago now? And here's a quote. I wish I could give you a last map that's playable, but I can't. Instead, from this point forward, Dota is now open source. Whoever wishes to release a version of Dota may without my consent. I just ask for a nod in the credits to your map. So he used that word open source. Now, whether it's his to open source to begin with is a questionable, right? It's a Warcraft 3 map. So obviously Blizzard, you can't open source someone else's content.
Hold on. I think it's an interesting defense the Chinese company's putting out, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you look at the history of Dota and the deals they struck with Blizzard, Blizzard and Valve, rather, I mean, they bought the rights for Dota 2 from the old developers.
Yes.
I mean, so they actually paid Ice Frog for his rights.
And Yule.
They were paid money for their rights. So clearly, both companies believe that it was their game to sell the rights to, right?
Yes.
So because of that, I feel like it validates that it was his game. Yule had the authority to open source it. It was his to open source. If at a later point it was acknowledged that they could transfer the rights. So
Well,
he did, and God bless, this, what is this, Wayback Machine archive, which lets, all these old websites get archived forever, basically. So this quote and this discussion by Yule is forever immortalized on the internet over here, and you can't go back and change it. This is great evidence.
as another point too, like you said, Ice Frog and Yule were both paid for to transfer their rights to Dota to Valve. And by the way, Ginsu was paid to transfer his rights to Riot, and then Riot then sold those rights to Blizzard. That's a chain of the 3 creators. But the initial EULA for Warcraft 3 says you cannot use the map maker for commercial purposes, including but not limited to distribution of mods on a standalone basis or packaged with other software or hardware. So they didn't even have the right to sell whatever it is they sold to Valve.
Blizzard bought it anyway, so
Blizzard bought it anyway.
I'm sure there was some wording in the terms of service where there was some legal loophole, where I'm sure all the terms of service going forward are much more strict. I feel like maybe it was a little looser back then, where there was some wiggle room on that.
Yeah, so basically, this is fun because unless there's a settlement between the parties involved, the 4 studios involved, basically a random group of random Americans are going to have to decide all this. So can you imagine like a 50-year-old guy who has no clue about games? He's going to have to listen to Yule and Ice Frog and Dota and Blizzard. He's going to have to listen to all this and then just decide if Dota is open source or not. So that's fun.
God bless the jury system. They want to know what the hell's going on with these games.
I play Dota.
Honestly,
I work in this industry, and I don't even know who's right.
No, who knows, right? It's not so one-sided. Honestly, I really hope, to a degree, that the Chinese studio wins this game, only because I feel like a lot of these restrictions prevent a lot of games from coming out. Like, look, 300 Heroes, right? That game is a mindless fun. They rip off all the heroes from Dota. They rip off League heroes. They rip off all these popular animes. But it's crazy fun. But you'll never be able to get that game in America because of all the copyright stuff. So, in a way, I'm kind of rooting for the Chinese studio to win, only because why not, right? I don't think this game is hurting anyone if they're copying these Dota heroes. I mean, this is random Chinese game.
Yeah, and actually, if you guys are interested in this subject, I don't know how many people here are, but there's actually a PDF of the judge's ruling, right, so far. And it's so funny how he tries to be very in-depth. He is actually. The judge, he does a pretty good job. I read this whole document. But I love the way he starts it. He's a little cheeky. The various video games at issue in this copyright case take players to fantastical worlds populated by elves, demons, and at least one elf demon. At least one elf demon. And then, look, he puts the citation 1, right? And if you look at the bottom here, it's a C, Illidan Stormrage. So this judge is pretty cool. I guess he's a fan of Illidan.
Half demon.
Yeah.
I'm glad he was very thorough about that.
Yeah. So it's a fun read, and you can actually say you've read a court case if you this document.
No. Interesting. I'm rooting for China. All right, China number 1.
All right. Best judge NA.
Funny that he actually bothered to put at least one half demon.
There's
a few other races he ignored too. Come on.
There's a few funny lines, and he had fun with it. The judge has fun with the story, and that makes me hopeful that a lot of these other these court readings aren't all boring. I'm sure they throw themselves little Easter eggs because I'm sure lawyers and judges spend hours a day reading, right, of this nonsense. So I'm sure they throw each other some Easter eggs.
But what's funny too is actually the next line is pretty good. Eventually, this rather remarkable chance to play God, like too many human endeavors, devolved into a fight over money. Yeah, it did. I mean, it's. Oh
yeah. This judge is a good. Obviously, judges tend to be smart, so he's a pretty good writer. So it was a fun document to read.
He's a good writer. Does he want to work for MMOs.com for slave wages? No,
I don't know, man.
We'll haul at him.
We can't even afford Gumby. We can't afford a judge.
We can't afford a judge. All right, rip. Take it to another discussion for an MMORPG, actually, because this is the MMOs.com podcast. First gameplay trailer release. Actually, but maybe before we show that video, don't show that video just yet, because I want to show you the first reveal for Justice over here. Take a look at this first. This was the first video we looked at for a game called Justice. In January, Netease, China's second biggest game developer, released this crazy in-game footage, right, for their new game. And maybe this game looks beautiful, like unbelievably beautiful.
Treacherous
And then we get an
Waters
actual
Online.
gameplay video.
Okay, so I'm gonna play the.
Yeah, let's play Treacherous Waters Online video. So this game, like the graphics seem unbelievably good, and these are all supposed to be in-game graphics. Like if you put on HD, it looks phenomenal, like almost unreal. I've never seen like an MMORPG or a game with this like beautiful looking graphics, and if it's all supposed to be in-game, like it looks gorgeous.
It does.
And then you're going to see what it actually looks like, all right?
Okay, that's enough of this. Let's go to what it actually looks like, all right, boys?
Yeah, go to what it actually looks like now. I mean, look, it still looks pretty decent, right? But like, it doesn't look anywhere near as impressive as it looked in that video, all right? It looks just like, oh my god, like it hypes. They put so much hype on the visuals on that first reveal trailer that when you see some actual gameplay footage, it doesn't look nearly as impressive.
No, it doesn't.
No, it looks like another like Mu Legend, Lineage Eternal like look, you know?
I think a lot of these Chinese games kind of do what Revelation does, is where they're kind of very inconsistent with the quality. Like certain things look really good, and then certain things they kind of cheat on. And I guess that makes it run on low end specs easier, but it does give it a pretty disjointed look. We'll see.
I think the game looks decent. It's just that it doesn't look nearly as impressive as it did in that first reveal trailer.
Some parts do. Some parts do look impressive, but it's just they kind of choose where they want to spend the gigawatts, you know?
Yeah, true.
I'll have to see it in game.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first gameplay trailer for it. Apparently, beta begins on July 21st. It's not a big PC game. So even, with how big mobile games are in China, as we talked about, King of Glory, they're still releasing new PC games over there, too. PC games are definitely not dead. They still make lots of money.
Oh, yeah. Companies like Nexon still make the bulk of their money from their PC portfolio. So it's certainly not dead.
Budget Fireline makes $1 billion a year. Interestingly enough, too, a game called Dragon Oath was published by Changyu in America. Pretty sure the American version is dead now. Nobody plays it. But Dragon Oath still makes about $50 million a quarter in China. That game makes about $200 million a year, and it's like a 10-year-old Chinese MMORPG. Still minting money.
I wanted to write a segment or do a segment maybe for this podcast. I guess we'll do it at the end here. It's called "What Year Is It?" We got a Quake coming out. We got StarCraft Remastered coming out. So
I think nostalgia is a huge thing, and you have the Morrowind expansion coming out for ESO and everything. Nostalgia is a big seller. I mean, they made a Power Rangers movie too, and you know why? Because they want to pull in all the nostalgia people that grew up, watching Power Rangers. That's why they ran the Twitch marathon for it right before the movie came out too. So nostalgia sells, sells. All right, nostalgia sells.
All right. Well,
we talked a bit about Bless as well. Maybe we'll bring up the Bless Japan thing at least.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
We didn't mention. Aaron didn't put Bless in the list of games you're excited for in 2017 because we don't know if the game is actually going to come out because they're still apparently work on this revamped version. But Bless Japan is going to include revamped skill system and autopathing, which I guess might be some of the features we can expect on the upcoming Russian version when they relaunch, or the American version when it relaunches too. But Bless is not dead. All right, the Russian version is Rest in Pepperino. It's dead. Nobody's playing the Korean version, but they are redeveloping the game with action, combat, and hopefully better optimizations.
So, what do you think of the changes on the Japanese server?
Look, they need to fix the optimization. That's like the biggest issue, top of the list, right? Top of the list. You said they were getting rid of the skill system as well?
Yeah,
skill books.
Skill books. So getting rid of skill books. I think that's a great idea. I think.
I've hated skill books forever. A lot of old MMORPGs had them, right? A lot of old school free-to-play MMORPGs had them, and I always despised them. And because they never served the useful purpose. In Bless, you go to town, you right-click on all the spell books for your level, and now you learn the skill. Why put that step in there? It literally added nothing to the game, and it was just an inconvenience in every MMORPG. So I never liked skill books. Get rid of them. I'm glad they're doing it over here.
It was doubly hard when we were playing on the Russian server because descriptions were not very clear on the skills. I didn't really know what I was buying or equipping. Now instead, skills have a level between 1 to 5. Some skills maxed out at 1, the rest maxed out at 5. So you can go you just put 5 points in them. Very simple, very clean, And even on the
Much easier.
Japanese server, I could just tell right away what's going on. You know, like I see all the skills. You know, I see where I put my points. It's just a much better system.
Look, I think Bless is a fun game. If they can release Bless that runs super optimal, that feels smooth, that they get rid of the performance issues, I think it could have done really well. But when nobody can play your game, my GTX 1080 can't play that game without lag, and my top-end PC has issues, it's just not going to work. People are doing all these weird ini tweaks to get the game working, and it's a game that runs on Unreal Engine too. Another Unreal Engine game that just doesn't work on an MMORPG scale for whatever reason. And it blows my mind that they spent $60 million and they released the game in Korea. They released it in Russia without realizing it was unplayable. It was so obvious it was unplayable. Literally, one person sits down, they realize the game just doesn't work on most PCs. Go back to the drawing board, make it work.
Do you think the Japanese server will last, or will it go the way of the Russian server?
It'll go the way of the Russian server. 100%. Look, the game is unplayable. If they don't fix the optimization issues, it's not going to work. No chance.
All right. Well, we'll see. Like I said earlier, there's only one server left in Korea, so we'll see. We'll see how it does. What do you think of the autopathing? I see in chat it's pretty contentious here. Yeah,
I mean, we talked about streamlining certain things isn't always best. I agree, but when certain things can be streamlined, if anything, it was a frustration point with skill books in a lot of games. Even in MapleStory, like in order to get your, because I actually played MapleStory recently, but in order to get your, to advance beyond level 10 or 15 on your tier 4 skills, you had to get the skill book. It was just an inconvenience, and it was really just it required you to Google and how to get it. It didn't add any real value or fun to the game. But
well,
autopathing, I don't know.
I think I'm okay with the getting rid of skill books. The autopathing to me implies you think your game is cheap, right? So me as a player, I'm not gonna respect your game. Or your world, or the effort you put into that world, right? If you don't respect it. And when you do autopathing, you're basically telling me, listen, none of this matters. Just follow the line. Basically don't look. So if that's what their attitude is, my attitude is gonna be, okay, whatever. Your game is, is just basically a browser game. Good job. I'll still play it if it's fun. I'll play with my friends. But I won't be invested in that world.
I like when games make the UI for maps super useful. If it tells me I talk to this NPC, if it's marked on my map, if it auto walks, maybe that's a bit too much then. But at least make it easily marked on the map, and that streamlining there I think is okay. But don't make it auto walk across the whole world to go to certain places and stuff, because then the game just feels like you're not doing anything.
I actually thought Bless did a great job with the UI, especially with the map. I'm showing some of our old Grindfest video here. And, things are clearly marked. There's a path. You can see the roads. You can see the buildings. You can see little exclamation marks where the quests are. So I thought, and we played Blessed, right? We leveled up. I didn't really have a hard time finding quest locations in that one. So I thought that part was pretty well done.
I don't think I think as long as the UI is well done, you don't need autopathing. But again, it's not a make or break thing regardless. I mean, when so much auto combat though is a make or break thing for me. Especially PC MMORPGs, a lot of Karos Online, very obscure game, right? But it has built-in auto combat where it just grinds for you. If the game just plays for me, it's a waste of time. Again, your logic of if the developers don't care enough about their game to be invested, telling you not to get invested, then it's impossible for you to get invested in the game. But auto combat is a deal breaker, I think, for me.
Okay.
Auto walk doesn't really.
Okay, so you're okay with auto. Again, look, I don't want to be too harsh. Look, I'll play a game if it's fun, if it has auto walk, but I won't respect the world, the environment they made, the lore, the characters, the story. I won't respect that if there's auto walk. Doesn't mean if the combat's fun, if other things are fun, I'll play it.
To make up for it, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just not gonna be invested in that world. That's my only point. All right, well, with that, I think we are out of time. Any last points, or shall we move on to the after show?
One last point. I think somebody mentioned on Discord chat a while ago. I think the reason I play female characters in MMORPGs now more than ever is that graphics are getting better. So I can look at that nice HD booty while I'm playing my MMO. See, if the character models were ugly, I'd be more likely to play a male character because they keep getting prettier and prettier. I can look at that, nice, pretty character, female character.
Well said. Well said. By the way, guys, Omer says this now, but he is a late convert. He used to give me shit for playing a female in World of Warcraft. And I remember this somewhere. So when WoW came out, we were still in high school, right? And my brother ratted on me. He told our dad that, oh, everyone plays a female character in this game. And then my dad, I guess, like, I don't know, maybe like in his mind, he's like, oh, I don't want my kid being like a sissy, you know? So he's like, don't play a female. I was like, what? So like, he said, Omer ratted me out.
I ratted on you. I snitched.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. And now he's playing female characters too, so I got the last laugh.
I was a little late to the I see the benefits now. People are nicer to you too, but I see the benefits.
Yeah, yeah. I made all those points too, like, oh, it's more fun to look at. You know, people are nicer to you. It didn't fly, you know, back then.
Sissy.
All right, good times, good times.
It was a long time ago, okay, Black Dragon, all right? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, 2004, I'd say. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to have to cut it off here. But you can continue an after show. If you guys are watching on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, go watch this live. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's chat on the right side. Leave some comments. Let us know. If you got a better way of doing that, let us know. With that, take it easy.
We'll see you guys next time for YouTube. Later, YouTube.